Hi, my name is Dr. Rappy. I'm a certified functional medicine practitioner and the co-founder of Thrive Functional Wellness Center. If you're new to functional medicine and are wondering what it is, well, it's really pretty simple. Functional medicine, we identify what is the underlying cause of your symptoms and then work to resolve the underlying causes using all natural methods. We don't prescribe drugs or medications that are only going to mask or minimize your symptoms, and then you take those for the rest of your life. Functional medicine is all about that underlying cause and working to eliminate the underlying cause using all natural methods, literally healing the body from the inside out. I'm really excited to share this webinar with you today, and I hope that you find it educational, enlightening, but most importantly inspiring. I hope it inspires you to take action, to take that very first step to regaining your health naturally. You know, I say this a lot, and it's true. If you want a different outcome, you've got to do something different. It's that simple. And that's what we've done here at Thrive Functional Wellness Center. For 30 years, we've changed lives through our holistic approach, and we look forward to helping you change yours too. If you have any questions about our program, please contact us using the numbers and emails on the screen. We look forward to helping you regain your health and thrive again. Because believe it or not, your health is your true wealth.
Welcome everyone, Dr. Rappy here from Thrive Functional Wellness Center. So the Webster's Dictionary, their definition of priority is a condition of being more important than other things. So think about that. Now, as a practitioner in private practice for almost 30 years, I've worked with people of all different types or all different levels of health. Some people in their 60s, 70s, and 80s, they act, live, and behave like they're in their 30s, 40s, and 50s. They're full of vitality and energy, and they're just over exuberant, and they're just having a great time. They're playing, they're traveling, they're doing all the wonderful things and all the things they've hoped to do in retirement. They're really truly living life to its fullest. And I would say they're living a very high quality of life. And then I've also worked with individuals in their 40s. They look like they're 80 years old and on their deathbed. They've literally developed a number of chronic degenerative diseases. They're on numerous medications. They live a very low quality of life, and their life is really restricted by their health. In other words, their activities and the things that they want to do, they can't do because their health gets in the way. So the question for you guys today on here, what really is the difference between these two? What would you say the difference between these two is? I can tell you 99% of the time the difference between these two individuals is very clear. It's priority. On the one hand, the individual who is 100% committed, their health is their absolute number one priority. They will do anything and everything in order to be healthy, regardless of cost. And they know that their health is the vehicle for which they can continue to do all the wonderful things they're doing, all the fun they're having, all the memories that they're making with their family, their kids, their grandkids, all the activities, their social activities, everything. It's all based on how healthy they are, and they know this. So they give it 100%. Again, regardless of cost, they'll do whatever it takes. On the other hand, you have the individual who makes everything else a priority. The car they drive, the purse they're using, the watch on their wrist, the shoes on their feet, everything, including maybe they've got this huge sports package at home that has every possible sporting event you can think of. Of course, you can only watch one at a time, but they've got it. Everything else takes priority over their particular health. Their health is taking a back seat or a back burner until one day when something really bad happens. All of a sudden, they say, wow, I think I've got my priorities screwed up. And that's right. That's exactly what happens. So the question for you today is, as you watch this, is what's your priority? Is your health your number one priority? If it is, I'm really grateful that you're on here today listening to this, because over the next 45 minutes or so, I'm going to share with you more about your thyroid, how it works, when it's dysfunctional, what to do about it, and a solution. You see, I have a solution for your thyroid issues. I do. And I use that solution every day. Why is that? Because I have thyroid disease just like many of you. I do. So when we get together and talk, and we're discussing what's going on with you, and you say, I'm feeling this, I've experienced this is what happened, and I say, oh, I understand. I really do understand. I can't say so much for your doctor. If they don't have a thyroid condition, they can't honestly say to you, I understand, because they've never experienced it, and I have. Now listen, I've been a health and wellness expert in my area for the last almost 30 years. Okay? It's just going on 30 years. I've worked with thousands and thousands and thousands of clients successfully. I have well over 1,000 hours of postgraduate studies in functional medicine, functional endocrinology, functional immunology, functional blood chemistry, and metabolic testing, as well as functional nutrition, just to name a few. So you can see that my education is much more advanced than normal. My main focus in my practice is functional medicine. That's my main focus. And for those of you who don't know what functional medicine is, it's pretty straightforward. I want to identify what's the true underlying cause. And then we want to resolve the underlying cause of your symptoms using all natural methods. I call it the what medicine. What's causing your symptoms? That's the key. Resolve it with all natural methods. That's functional medicine. Now, the other model that some of you or most of you are experiencing is called the medical model. In the medical model, and I'm not here to beat up your doctor, I'm not here to replace your doctor, they're doing the best job they can. They're in a broken system. Their training really dictates that they give you or prescribe you drugs based on your symptoms. And those drugs are designed to minimize your symptoms. Let me give you a couple examples. If a person is taking high blood pressure medication to lower their blood pressure and they stop taking that drug or medication, what happens to their blood pressure? It goes back up. If they're taking a drug to lower their cholesterol and they stop taking it, what happens to their cholesterol? It goes back up. If they're taking a drug to lower their blood sugar, a diabetic drug, and they stop taking it, what happens to their blood sugar? It goes back up. If you are taking a thyroid drug or a thyroid medication to lower your TSH and you stop taking it, what happens to your TSH? Exactly, it goes back up. You see, those drugs are those drugs are no different than the vast majority of the drugs out there. 29,000 different drugs being prescribed today in America, the most of which only minimize your symptoms. They don't correct anything. Your typical experience is you go to the doctor, you give them your symptoms, they look in their little toolkit and they say, okay, which drug can I give this person to minimize their blood pressure? They provide you the drug and they say, here you go, take this. And you end up taking it the rest of your life because it doesn't address the true underlying cause. And that's the problem with that broken system. I call it crisis care because nobody goes there when you're healthy. They use health care because it sounds nice. It's really crisis care. You go there when you're in crisis. They're going to give you drugs to minimize your symptoms, and that's it. And in my opinion, there's a better way. And that better way is functional medicine. Now, for those of you who are really, are really serious about taking action, what I'd like to say to you is this, is there will be an opportunity later on in the talk where we're going to offer you an opportunity to receive a comprehensive health and wellness consultation that's really tailored to your needs and it's customized to you. Everything that I do in my office from a functional medical standpoint is customized to the individual and it's based on science. It's not guesswork. It's not cookie cutter where everyone that walks in the door at some other facility, they all get the same treatment. That's not how this works. It's all based off of laboratory testing and science. So it will be specific to you and what your needs are. Now, I know some of you are dealing with thyroid issues, but also some of you might be dealing with gut issues or weight problems, or maybe you're dealing with anxiety and depression. And so there's other issues as well that you may be dealing with. This talk is going to also address those as well because they're all interrelated. Now listen, I really honor you for being on here. I really do. I think it says a lot about you as an individual that you've taken the time to come out today and to listen to what we have to say. There is a solution out there for you, and I have it. I'm going to show you that. You see, I'm going to show you something you've never seen before. I'm going to tell you the absolute truth. The truth as I know it. I'm going to show you a program that works. And so that's really what this is all about. So please stay tuned. Don't leave because it's just going to keep getting better and better and more information. Now, I have a little video here. This is a lady who came to us. Wonderful person. She was having horrible thyroid issues. She came to us. We walked her through the program, which is curriculum based, which means we want to educate you so you fully understand what am I doing, Why am I doing it? And what's my long-term benefit? And that's how we are able to get long-term results with individuals. And this is just an example.
Hi, my name is Arlene and I'm from Vancouver Island, British Columbia. I came to see Dr. Rappy at a dinner workshop he had last spring. And I was interested because I needed to lose some weight. I had thyroid issues, anxiety, just sluggy overall, not feeling great. So I went on the program and ended up, I was really terrified of the detox, but just panicked me. And yet I did it. And it was really cool. And it was easy. And my family all are amazed. I've come out of this losing 20 pounds. I really need to lose about 10 or 12, but I'm happy at 20. It's perfect. And I had an autoimmune disease called Hashimoto's. And now with my second blood work, it shows that I am now in the positive, the negative from the positive. So it has cleaned itself up. And I'm really thrilled. And I would recommend this program to anyone who would like to see themselves get in better health and feel better and enjoy life. Thank you.
Now, she got incredible results because she applied the information that we taught her. Here's the key. Think about this question. Is knowledge powerful? Knowledge is only powerful if we take action and apply it. I can give you a book on how to be healthy and how to exercise and how to eat right, and you can read it, but if you don't apply that information, you're not going to be healthy and nothing's going to change. So it's really important to understand that that's why we use the curriculum-based program that we do. It's all about making sure you're fully independent in your own health when we're done working with you. So if you'd like to know the most effective way, the most practical way, the most natural way, as well as the most permanent way to potentially stop and reverse your chronic degenerative diseases like thyroid disease, diabetes, heart disease, autoimmune disease, gut issues, and whatever else you're dealing with. And remember, 75% of all the diseases out there today are considered chronic degenerative disease. What that really means is they're lifestyle dependent. And so they can be reversed, they can be stopped, and you can recover from those. You just need to be taught what to do. This is the food pyramid that we should all be going by. The original food pyramid was put together by a bunch of congressmen who had no knowledge or background in nutrition, human biology, or anything. The original food pyramid that we all grew up with was really put together by a bunch of lobbyists because they were all interested in selling more of their particular products. Let me tell you a little bit about myself. I grew up in a really small town in Minnesota. 2 blocks from my house was cornfields as far as you could see. So we had a typical coming up as kids. We had my mom and dad. My dad worked. My mom stayed at home. She took care of us. She cleaned. She cooked. She hugged us. She read books to us. She kissed our owies. She really took care of us and was really involved in us growing up. We played sports. We played all kinds of games in the backyard. We'd stay up at night and play kick the can and flashlight tag. So it was wonderful. The problem was my mom was 4 feet 10 inches tall. She was about 100 pounds overweight. So at some point, she decided I need to lose weight. She got involved in a program called TOPS. I believe that's Weight Watchers today. She lost 100 pounds. She won her regions. She won the contest that she was in. And she got a trip to New York for 10 days. I'll never forget how excited we were until she left. Then it was devastating. Oh my gosh, she's gone for 10 days. Where's my mom? Where's my mom? So it was really an exciting time. It really changed her life for the better. And a number of years after this, I was around 7 years old. She started having problems with her balance. She started having problems with equilibrium and falling, and it got worse and worse and worse. And eventually she developed headaches. The headaches were associated with vomiting. She became bedridden. My dad had decided along the way that she needed to be seen by a specialist, so she went to the Mayo Clinic, which is one of the best clinics in the world, world-renowned. She also went to the University of Minnesota, and they really couldn't figure out what was wrong with her. So they guessed that she had had cancer, and they determined that she needed to be admitted to the hospital. So they admitted her in the hospital. For whatever reason, the hospital wouldn't allow us as kids to visit her. So we would go to the hospital, and we would just play out in front of the hospital. And I can remember looking up at the windows and thinking, which room is hers, and is she going to wave to me today? Because, she was in the hospital, and a week went by, no mom. 2 weeks by, no mom. 3 weeks went by, no mom. A month went by, no mom. You can only imagine as little kids that your mom is no longer around. And it was just this empty space in our house. And it was really challenging. Thank goodness my grandmother was there to take care of us. And then A month went by, no mom. 2 months went by, no mom. 3 months went by, no mom. And eventually, my dad sat us down one Saturday and said, hey guys, your mom's coming home for a visit. So we were so excited. I'll never forget. We were so excited. We're going to have a great big party for her in the backyard. My mom is coming home. She's been gone for months. It's so exciting. And I'll never forget the day. She's on her way home. My grandmother says they're on their way. And so we had picked hiding spots because we wanted to jump out and surprise her, you know. Again, she'd been gone for over 3 months or so. So I had a spot, and I could see through a hole in the fence. There was a little knot that was missing in the wood fence. And I could see down the street, and I could see our driveway. And the driveway had gravel and cement. And I can remember seeing the car coming down the road. It was my dad's car, and my heart was just beating like crazy. And then they pulled into the driveway. I could hear the tires on the gravel as they rolled into the driveway, and then they stopped on the cement. My dad got out. He was driving. My grandfather got out from the passenger side, and there was no mom. And I was stunned. I didn't understand what was going on. So eventually they opened the trunk, and I thought, well, they can't be carrying her in the trunk. What the heck is that all about? Well, they pulled out a wheelchair, and they loaded her into a wheelchair, and they wheeled her into the backyard in a wheelchair. She had a scarf on her head. She had sunglasses on. She didn't walk. She couldn't walk. She didn't talk. And really, she could barely lift her arms up to hug us. I'll never forget when she hugged us, my 2 older brothers and my younger sister and I. She hugged us as a group. We were all in tears. And she could barely lift her frail little arms to hug us. But we had a great time. We sang. We played, we did cartwheels. We played frisbee. Mom, watch, Mom. We ate. And then they loaded her back in the car. And you can only imagine, why are you taking her back? No one explained to us that it was just a visit. And so they loaded her back in the car. And I'll never forget, as they started to drive down the street, I'll never forget the look on her face as they drove away. And so really this healthcare crisis what they're in is that leads me into this healthcare crisis where they didn't know anything about cancer back then. And with all the money that we've spent over the last 55 years on cancer research, you think that it would be cured by now, but it hasn't been. So America's healthcare crisis really is about big pharma and the big lie that they present, as well as this. They're interested in one thing. They don't care about you. They don't care about me. They don't care about any of us. They care about money. Money, keeping their stock values high, and they care about their shareholders. And then you've got the insurance companies and the misleading information as well. So I see people all the time that come in and they say, well, I've got an insurance card. And I say, well, that insurance card is not going to get you healthy. It's not going to keep you healthy. You still have to make good choices. Because remember what I said, 75% of all diseases out there today are considered chronic degenerative diseases. Big pharma is a big problem. They don't design drugs to correct any problems. They don't design any drugs to correct the underlying cause. They develop and design drugs to minimize your symptoms so that you take them for the rest of your life, and that maximizes their profits. Once you fully understand that and grasp that concept, it'll really open your eyes to what's going on. We have a broken system, and we're all little guinea pigs. So let me go over some statistics for you here. 75% of the $2.7 trillion that we spend in the United States every year on healthcare is spent on treating diseases that are largely preventable. I've said it twice, I'll say it again. 75% of all the diseases out there today are considered chronic degenerative diseases. They're preventable. They're reversible. They're based on choices we make. This is what the CDC said. In addition to that, 90% of all diseases prevalent today are not treatable with orthodox medical procedures. 30% of healthcare costs, roughly $750 billion annually, are wasted on things that do not improve anybody's health. Nothing. No one gets better with this. That's a waste of $750 billion. 85% of all medical procedures and surgeries are scientifically unproven. And this is just really shocking. We spend $425 billion a year on pharmaceutical drugs. Now, let me put that into perspective for you. The United States population makes up about 5% of the world population. We consume 75% of all the drugs manufactured on a yearly basis worldwide. What does that tell you about the corrupt pharmaceutical industry that's pushing drugs down our throat that we don't need? Let's look at some thyroid facts. 30 million people in the United States have thyroid disorders. Half of those are undiagnosed. Females are 5 times more likely than males, and 20% of diabetics will have a thyroid issue of some kind. We'll talk about why. Here's your thyroid and what it supports: bone metabolism, immune system, brain and nervous system, gastrointestinal function, liver and gallbladder, growth and sex hormones, fat burning, insulin and glucose metabolism, healthy cholesterol levels, and proper stomach acid. Now, while I've got this up here, let me say this really quickly. Healthy cholesterol levels. For those of you who are watching this, if you think cholesterol is bad, you've been lied to for many, many years. It's a myth, it's a scam, it's all about making money. Your body needs cholesterol to function normally. Your brain has to have it to function normally. In other words, when your cholesterol levels get too low, that's when we'll start to see the onsets of dementia and memory loss and cognitive dysfunction. So healthy cholesterols are really important, and they're not what you think they are. Cholesterol is important for us, and we need to keep it at a reasonable level. In addition to that, if your cholesterol levels drop below 150, total cholesterol, your body is not going to manufacture sex hormones like it's supposed to, because cholesterol is one of the building blocks of sex hormones. That's a whole nother topic, and so we won't go any further in that, so I appreciate you hearing me.
People with thyroid disorders can exhibit a lot of symptoms that affect their brain. Some of the things that I've seen are going to be fatigue, brain fog, apathy, irritability, anxiety, panic attacks. We're also going to see times of depression. I've seen people who are misdiagnosed with bipolar disorder, and I've even seen people who are hospitalized for psychotic disorders.
So let's look at some of the typical symptoms that we see: hair loss, thinning, bowel, tired, bowel and gut. Why is bowel and gut important? Well, bowel and gut, I mean, think about it. You know, we're going to look at some other stuff here. Bowel and gut is really, really important. Depression, they go together. Everybody remembers Robin Williams. He was depressed. He died of suicide actually, but it was depression that drove him to suicide. So the number one neurotransmitter associated with depression is serotonin, and it's not produced in your brain. The vast majority of it is produced in your gut. So if your gut doesn't function properly and you don't manufacture enough serotonin, you're going to have symptoms that are going to present to the doctor like you're depressed. You're not. You're just not making enough serotonin, but your doctor will rush right away, rush to judgment. My goodness, you're depressed. You've got to have an antidepressant. And they're just giving them out like chiclets. I think the first thing they should say when you have symptoms of depression: how many times a day do you poop? Let's get in there. Let's just be serious and honest. We're all adults here. We need to know, what's your gut function? What's going on, and how's that working? That would be the first thing that I'm going to ask you as a functional medicine specialist, because I want to know what's the underlying cause, not how to suppress your symptom using a drug. Also, morning headaches, weight gain. We're going to see weight gain, cold hands and feet. We're going to see night flashes, hot flashes and night sweats, mood swings. Brain fog is huge. We see brain fog all the time.
The brain fog that comes along with thyroid disease is quite scary, because you don't know what's happening to you. So you can go from being this really intelligent person that's on top of your game, you know, can tell jokes very quickly and can study things and remember things very quickly, to all of a sudden walking into rooms and forgetting why you got there in the first place. That can be very, very scary when you feel like your mind is slipping away from you, where you're slowly losing parts of yourself.
Now, as I mentioned, I have a thyroid disease. I actually have thyroid Hashimoto's. I've had all the symptoms that she's talking about. And so I know from experience. I've been there, done that. I know what you're going through. So insomnia is another one. Insomnia is related because the thyroid is related many times to the adrenal glands, and the adrenal glands and cortisol levels are really going to affect how do we sleep. So let's look at the physiology quickly. And then the thyroid produces 93% T4, that's one of the hormones. 7% is T3. T3 is the most important hormone in your body. Every single cell has to have T3. So when you look at this, the way we were designed was pretty fascinating. Our body was designed in a way that we had to be able to convert 4 into T3 for us to obtain optimum health and be as healthy as possible. Well, where does this conversion take place? Well, look at it this way. 60% of T4 gets converted in the liver to T3, and 20% converts in the peripheral tissues, 20% of T4 gets converted to T3 in the gut. So the liver and the gut are huge when it comes to, is our thyroid actually functioning normally or not? If you go to your doctor and you have a high TSH and they don't analyze your liver function, they don't talk to you about your gut function, and they just say, oh, your TSH is high, you need thyroid hormone. Okay, but it's your liver, it's not your thyroid. If your liver's not working and you can't convert T4 to T3, that's the real problem. It's not your thyroid. Same thing with your gut. If you're not producing, if you're not converting enough T4 to T3 in your gut because you've got bowel dysfunction or gut disease or issues in your gut, your TSH will be elevated, and your GP or your doctor is just going to write you a prescription for thyroid hormone. We want to identify the true underlying cause, and that's what we do in functional medicine. What's really going on? In this particular case, you have high TSH. I want to know, is it your liver? Is it your gut? Is it your peripheral cells? Because maybe we're not getting enough T3 up into the cells. And there's other reasons why that would happen, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But this is the physiology we're looking at, and this is why functional medicine is so important to you in your future when you're dealing with your thyroid issues. Here's the thyroid adrenal connection I talked about. Under high levels of stress, your adrenal glands are going to pump out a bunch of cortisol. Cortisol is going to affect your TSH levels, and it's also, it could inhibit the conversion of T4 to T3. So let's just say you've got some stress in your life, some things are happening, your cortisol levels are high, and it's going to give you symptoms that make it look like you have a thyroid issue, but you don't. Symptoms like fatigue, cold intolerance, weight gain, memory problems, poor concentration, depression, hair loss, dry skin, infertility. You go to your doctor. He says, well, let's run a test. He tests your TSH. It's elevated. He says, oh, well, your thyroid's under functioning. It's not working. Whatever he names it, and he gives you thyroid hormone. It's not your thyroid in this case. It's the fact that you're under a lot of stress, your adrenal glands are pumping out a lot of cortisol, and the cortisol is making it appear as though you have a thyroid problem, and you don't. So we've got to assess your thyroid by also assess your adrenal glands in order to determine if that's the real cause of what's happening. Remember, what's the true underlying cause? That's always our goal in functional medicine. You may have insulin resistance. Insulin resistance is the true underlying cause for diabetes type 2. So you have to have insulin resistance for quite a while before you develop into a full-blown diabetic. There is no pill for it. That's why the medical doctors don't talk about it. But if you look at this chart here, you're going to see insulin resistance can drive hormone imbalance. It can also drive your cholesterols to be elevated. So if you go to your doctor and he does a standard panel once a year and he looks at your cholesterol levels and says, oh my goodness, your cholesterol is really high, you need a statin. Well, maybe we should take a step back and look at what's the true underlying cause of your cholesterols being high. Because cholesterol elevation is really a symptom that something else is going on. In this case, it's insulin resistance. But as you look at the hormone imbalance there, that can lead to an estrogen dominance. Estrogen dominance will show you up as a low thyroid in many cases. Why? Because estrogen dominance what it'll do is it'll trigger a production of something called the thyroid binding globulin. It's a protein in the blood that grabs onto thyroid hormone that's converted into T3, and it carries it to the cell and it drops it off. But if there's a whole bunch of thyroid binding globulin in the blood, and when one thyroid binding globulin lets go of a thyroid hormone, T3 in this case, there's a bunch of them around, and their only job is to grab onto T3. Then he lets go, another one grabs on. They let go, another one grabs on. And so you're going to have low uptake into the cell, and it's not your thyroid, it's insulin resistance. Remember, identify the true underlying cause. That's our goal. And so really there's more than one cause of thyroid issues. The key is, which one do you really have? So do we have primary hypothyroidism? It's not as frequent or as common as you think. We have secondary issues to our pituitary. If my pituitary is dysfunctional, we're not going to have the appropriate TSH readings. Do I have thyroid under or over conversion? This is T4 to T3 in my liver, in my gut. Maybe I have TBG elevations. I just described that to you. If I have elevated estrogens, and it doesn't have to be from contraceptives. There are foods out there that we can eat that can give us an estrogen dominant scenario, and that's going to elevate your TBGs. Do I have thyroid resistance? This is more commonly seen with someone who's seeing an endocrinologist. He's really tired of hearing you complain in most cases, so he decides to give you T3. And if I'm given T3 for too long, my body will become resistant to it, just like what happens to a diabetic. They become resistant to the insulin or the medication that they're given by their doctor to suppress their sugar levels, and eventually their insulin resistance increases and the medications don't work, so they have to keep upping their dose until they put them on insulin. Same thing happens with thyroid resistance. Too much T3 for a long period of time, you become resistant to it. You just need more and more and more. Or do I have an autoimmune scenario? I have an autoimmune disease called Hashimoto's, and what it really is my immune system attacks my own tissues. So the way to really determine which one of these do you really have, which one do you really have, is really through proper testing. We're going to do all the appropriate testing. Our testing is done based on what our needs are, not based on what your insurance company will pay for. We're going to run a panel for your thyroid that's going to have 9 different tests in it. Every test possible, including 2 autoimmune tests, one for both of them for thyroid autoimmune. One is called TPO and one is called thyroid globulin antibodies.
When we see a lot of chronic patients have hypothyroidism, their chief complaints are depression and fatigue. And most of that is brain-based in some of these patients. Because as their brain gets inflamed, they can't activate their brain, so they have depression. Their fatigue is really brain-based because they have no need to do anything, and everything they do activates their brain. So their exhaustion and depression is really all brain, has nothing to do with the thyroid. So when they spend all this time trying to figure out the right thyroid medication dosage, they're usually unsuccessful because they haven't really addressed their brain autoimmunity or their autoimmunity in general.
So again, like I mentioned, I have autoimmune as well, and I see a lot of clients with autoimmunity, and again, they're taking drugs, and their endocrinologist is chasing their numbers around, and that's not how we handle it. Remember, functional medicine is identifying the true underlying cause and resolving it. And with autoimmune, it's a very different approach than what you're going to get in the medical model or in crisis care. Autoimmunity is pretty amazing. 90% of thyroid symptoms among U.S. women are due to an autoimmune disorder, not a thyroid problem. Hashimoto's and Graves' are not thyroid problems. And again, in my particular case, my autoimmunity is this. I developed autoimmune, and the way it works is this. At some point down the road, my immune system is triggered by some outside invader. We'll use gluten. So if I have gluten and gluten and gluten and gluten and gluten, at some point, my thyroid decides it's bad. It builds an antibody for it, and then every time I expose myself to gluten, it will attack the gluten as a bad guy or an outside invader and destroy it. At some point down the road, as I expose myself to gluten, my immune system will confuse gluten with the same protein sequence chain of my thyroid. Let's use the example, gluten is ABCD. That's the sequence, ABCD. Now my thyroid sequence is ABDC. It's inverted. But my thyroid or my immune system doesn't get it, and it gets confused. And so every time I expose myself to gluten, my immune system will attack my thyroid. I will present to my doctor as though I have thyroid symptoms. He'll prescribe me a hormone, because most of the time they don't test for autoimmune. He'll prescribe me a hormone I don't need because it's not a thyroid condition. It's an autoimmune condition. But we have to test you. Here's my lab results. As you can see, in March of 2017, my thyroid globulin antibodies were elevated. My thyroid autoimmune was kicked off, and I was having all these symptoms. And then again, as I said earlier, I do the solution that I have in my office. I do the solution every single day. I live the solution every single day. And now my autoimmunity is in remission. Hashimoto's, or 75% of Hashimoto's or Graves' disease, but 75% of all autoimmune conditions are going to have other organs being attacked, or they're going to have multiple autoimmunes. Pancreas, you're going to look at myelin, so multiple sclerosis, brain, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, dementia, as Dr. Karazi just mentioned about autoimmune attacking your brain. Intestines with Crohn's. Joints, rheumatoid arthritis, uterus, endometriosis, stomach, pernicious anemia, and the spine for osteoporosis. These are all types of autoimmunity that you could possibly have. The the key here is what's the true underlying cause? Which one do you have? Do you have hypothyroidism? Do you have prediabetes? Do you have adrenal stress? Do you have hormone imbalances? Do you have toxicities? Do you have gastrointestinal disorders? Do you have nervous system interference? Do you have an autoimmune condition? The only way to know is we've got to do the proper testing to really identify what's going on if we're going to optimize your health. Thrive Functional Wellness Program is pretty straightforward. Over the years, last 30 years of practice, I developed what I call the 3 R's program. The 3 R's program is pretty straightforward. We want to remove toxicities, we want to reverse the underlying cause, then we want to rebuild the health from the gut out. Now this program was developed over years, and I will say this. One of the most prestigious functional medicine clinics in the United States, the Cleveland Clinic, which is a huge clinic, it has a functional medicine division, and it's headed up by Dr. Mark Hyman, who's absolutely a phenomenal medical doctor. But he's a functional medicine specialist as well. And they use the same protocols that I use in my office, the remove, reverse, and rebuild. We do this, and we also do this using all natural methods. That's the key. All natural methods. No toxic drugs. The 5 Pillars of Health is the program that we do. It's pretty straightforward. We're going to treat the whole person because you're not just a thyroid. Your organ systems all work together as a unit. You're a whole person. First thing we do is detox. We want to clean, cleanse, and repair. We want to clean the toxicities out of you, and we're going to get your body clean, cleansed, and repaired so that when we decide to eat the right foods based on what we decide for you, everybody's different, but we want to teach you what to eat to be healthy and what to stop eating that's making you sick. Fitness is really important because sedentary lifestyle will never get you healthy. We have to move our bodies. We've got to move our muscles in our bodies and work with our body and our brain and our essence. Really, we've got to go and we've got to do fitness. 30 minutes, 3 times a week. Anybody can do it. You don't have to go to a gym. Sometimes I'll do it at home. Sometimes I go to a little gym here in town. You can literally do everything and anything you want at home. What we're going to teach you, though, is methodology. We're going to teach you the number one methodology that's going to stimulate hormone production, because our goal is to balance your hormones and make sure that you're in the vital range, not in the depressed range. Hormones are important because there's over 600 hormones in the body. They have to be balanced. Think about this. There's one sex hormone. If it's super duper high and out of whack, in other words, you've got estrogen dominance, you could literally die. I mean, estrogen dominance could cause you as a woman to have breast cancer, as a man to have prostate cancer. Both of those cancers have killed millions and millions of people. So we're going to test your hormones and make sure that we get them into balance. We use nutraceuticals, vitamins, and supplements to do that, along with the fitness program. And then mentoring and coaching. Mentoring and coaching is a huge part of our program. I was in the 1984 Olympic trials as a pole vaulter. I didn't get to that level of athletics by myself. I had a coach. I had a sprint coach, jump coach. I had a therapist. I had a hypnotherapist. I had a psychologist. I had a nutritionist. I had all of these people work together with me as a team to help me elevate my health to that level, so my athletics to that level, so that I could really achieve my goal of being in the Olympic trials. We do that with each and every one of our clients in the office. We mentor and coach them. Remember what I said earlier? We teach you all of the knowledge that's necessary to be healthy, but we also then do something no other program out there does. We literally take you by the hand and we walk you through this process step by step, teaching you how to apply it each and every day in your life. If I gave you a book on nutrition, exercise, and diet, and you read it, if you didn't have someone to teach you with a systematic approach on how to apply the knowledge, you wouldn't be healthy. You read a book, and that's it. So we've developed a system that's very systematic. It's a step-by-step approach, and it's incredibly successful. Why did we do that? Because we all know that 94% of failure is due to not having a system. And so we have a system that works.
Are bugs in your gut affecting your brain or your immune system? Work with a functional medicine practitioner to determine and eliminate gut issues, including a leaky gut, irritable bowel syndrome, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, and other gut issues.
Now that was Dr. Mark Hyman. I mentioned him earlier. Phenomenal guy. He's written a number of books. One of my mentors. We rely on his information in his books in a lot of ways, using it as reference. He's just phenomenal. So functional medicine specialist. Again, I am the Valley's only functional medicine specialist. I went through a program, a protocol. It was a postgraduate studies, 300 hours for functional medicine as well as nutrition. So if you're going to work with someone, if you decide you want to go down this path, my suggestion is you work with someone who's not only gone through the postgraduate studies and certifications, but somebody that lives this life. I have an autoimmune disease, and I do this every single day in my life. My wife has autoimmune Crohn's, and so our gut program is incredibly successful because when we take on gut clients, she relates to their issues and what they're going through because she's been through it as well. This is why I do what I do. This is my why. There's my gorgeous wife there in the middle with the black and white dress on. There's my son and my daughter. This is why I do what I do. I go to work each and every day. Now, if you remember the story I told you about my mom, my wife and I, right before we got married, I sat her down. I told her the exact same story that I told you. I made a promise to her. I said, honey, listen, I will do everything I can. I will take every opportunity that presents itself, regardless of cost, to make sure that I'm as healthy as I possibly can so our children in the future will not have to go through the experience that I went through at that young age of 7. It was horrible, and I don't wish it on anybody. So this is really why I do what I do. I've made that promise to my wife, and I've kept that promise for 27 years. We all have a freedom to choose. Let's talk about that. We all have a freedom to choose. You who are watching this, you had a freedom to choose whatever you chose to do up until today to be healthy or not healthy. The foods you chose, the lifestyle that you chose, that really determined whether you're healthy or sick, and it will determine whether you're healthy or sick in the future. So today I say to you, if what we may say makes sense, fantastic, and you choose to take action today and do something different, then we're here for you. If you choose not to, that's fine. Everybody has a choice not to take action. But I will say to you this. Imagine a couple of years down the road, you're sitting in your doctor's office, they're writing you more prescriptions because the ones that you're using right now aren't working, or they're adding additional prescriptions. You're going to think back about today, and you'll regret the fact that you didn't take action when you had that opportunity presented to you. I really believe that. So today's the day for you to make a choice for a different future in your health. So what our program is and what it's not. So I can tell you right now, what our program is not, the 5 to 7 minutes, which is the national average with your doctor and a handful of prescriptions as he runs out of the door to go see other clients. That's not our program. What our program is pretty straightforward. We have a comprehensive consultation with a certified functional medicine specialist. We do a comprehensive history and a metabolic assessment for all organs. We want to assess all organ systems because we believe that your body functions as one unit. So we're going to assess all of your organ systems. We don't individualize like crisis care. You go to a cardiologist, he's only interested in your heart. You go to a gastroenterologist, he's only interested in your gastroenterology issues. You go to a podiatrist, he only cares about your feet. You go to a neurologist, he cares about your brain. So the key is we want to assess all of your organs because we're looking at the whole body. We do a review of all previous labs. We're going to order any of the correct tests that we believe are necessary to identify the true underlying cause. We want to focus on the cause, not the symptoms. The symptoms don't mean anything. It's the cause of the symptoms that's important. And then we want to address the body as a whole. We also use a systematic approach. Most of you out there know who Dr. Oz is. I love Dr. Oz over the years, but I think Dr. Oz has lost his way. Sponsorship for all these different organizations have come together and really have got him going in different directions. One week he says eat wheat, the next week he says don't eat wheat. Drink wine, don't drink wine, all of this stuff. Take statins, don't take statins. So really for me, Dr. Oz has lost his way, and I see a lot of people that come to see me, they're really confused with the chaotic information that's out there. So we use a very systematic approach. We have a very systematic system that's been put together over the last 25 years by doctors who know what works. And then one of the most important aspects is mentoring. I've already mentioned that. Mentoring and coaching is so important. You need someone to take you by the hand and walk you through this process. You also need someone who's going to pick you up and dust you off when you stumble and fall, because we all do. It's normal. But you need someone that'll be there for you all the time. You have unfettered access. If we work together and you come on board and do our program, you have unfettered access to your functional medicine specialist, myself, and my staff. We're here 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So the time now is to take action. When I say that is because your future is in your hands. And if not today, then when? So if thyroid issues, they're not going to wait. Your stress and anxiety issues aren't going to wait. Your diabetes isn't going to wait. Obesity definitely doesn't wait. Depression won't wait. And suicide is permanent. We know that because of Robin Williams. So here's a question for you. And I use the term in this slide, Eisenhower. That's our local super duper hospital. But let me just ask you this. If you went to your local hospital and you sat with a specialist and you had a comprehensive consultation in history, a comprehensive metabolic assessment of all of your organ systems, a review of all your labs, if you had all of that done with a specialist, how much do you think it would cost? Would it cost $500? Would it cost $2,000? Remember, we're with a specialist. Would it cost $5,000? Well, I can tell you, I've reviewed the records of thousands of people who have gone to these people and seen these specialists. And believe me, the vast majority of these people, they paid well over $5,000. So what do we do in our office that's different? Well, number one, we're functional medicine specialists, so we approach everything differently. But what we offer in our office is straightforward. We offer a consultation with a certified functional medicine specialist, myself. We also offer that comprehensive history. We're going to do a comprehensive history and metabolic assessment of all your organ systems. We're going to review all your previous labs. And then I'm going to put together what's called a plan of action based on what you want from me. Based on what you want from me. Because you see, you're going to fill out a lot of paperwork prior to coming to me. I need to know everything I possibly can if I'm going to take you on as a client, because I've been here for 30 years and there's a reason for that. It's called honesty and integrity. That's why I've been so successful for 30 years. You notice I'm not wearing a pair of scrubs and a white lab coat and a stethoscope around my neck. You see a lot of that. Individuals who don't have confidence in what they're doing, or they're trying to present to people or the population or their consumers that they're somebody that they're not. This is it. This is me. And when we work together, this is what you're going to get: honesty and integrity. So if I can't help you, I'm going to tell you I can't help you, and I will refund your money. Okay? I just want you to know, there's my guarantee. If we start to work together and I don't believe after our consultation that I can help you, I will refund your consultation rate, whatever you paid me. Okay? Now, I will set aside an hour of my time and go through all of your paperwork so you and I can sit down and meet. Again, if we're doing this over the computer, I'm not going to be wearing a lab coat with scrubs and a stethoscope. I'll be wearing a dress shirt, sometimes a tie, sometimes not. We're going to sit here. We're going to go through the paperwork and identify if this is the right program for you and if I can help you. My normal fee is $287. Let me finish this by saying this. I have a gift for you today. I have a gift for you, and that gift really comes from that last moment that I saw my mom's face as they drove away in the car. You see, what I didn't share with you is that just prior to that, when they were loading her into the car, her scarf came off. And what was revealed under her scarf was the truth. The truth was she had had an experimental brain surgery. Her head was shaved, and there was stitching over the top of her head on both sides, like a baseball. It makes me uncomfortable just saying it. That was my last visual experience of my mom. You see, her last trip home was so she could hug her kids, so she could kiss her kids, so she could love her kids and hold us in her arms one last time. And even though she was barely able to lift her arms, that hug means so much to me, even to this day. Because you see, that was our last moments together. The visual of her driving away in the car was the last time that I saw her. She died 2 weeks later. And I truly believe that the universe intervened at that moment and led me down the path to become the health and wellness expert that I am. And I have a passion and a commitment to help as many people as I possibly can. In 30 years, I've helped literally thousands and thousands and thousands of people. My passion is so much so that what I'll do is I'm going to reduce my fee that's keeping you or stopping you from finding out if what we can do can help you and literally change your life and turn your life around. So I'm going to reduce that 287 to a simple 87. So for an hour of my time, I'll go through all of your paperwork, your laboratory tests. I'll customize a program to you. This is not a cookie cutter. This is customized to you. This program is your program. And it'll be based on what your goals and your desires are and what you want from me. If you would like a spouse, a partner, or another family member to receive a consultation as well, I can fit them into the same hour of time for an additional 47. They have to fill out all their own paperwork. They have to submit all their own labs because I need to know everything I can about them as well. So that's my gift to you.
What will your last 10 years look like? Will you be quick enough for a game of tag with your grandchild? Strong enough to embrace every moment? Will you grow old with vitality? Or get old with disease? It's time to decide.
Everybody recognizes Steve Jobs? You may or may not know it, but when Steve Jobs died, he was worth $10.5 billion. That was with a B. $10.5 billion. And I don't know if anybody is watching this would switch places with Steve Jobs. I surely wouldn't. And when I know that you would not trade places with Steve Jobs, that tells me that you believe your life is worth more than $10.5 billion. I know this for a fact. A very good friend of mine worked for Steve Jobs personally for 18 years. And he spoke with Steve Jobs not long before he passed. And Steve said to him, I would give every penny of my wealth away to be healthy again. And so I say to you, if not now, then when? If not me, then who?